Welcome to Star Oracle. Today we are doing a reading with Jupiter. Jupiter just moved into the sign of Gemini literally like an hour ago or something, a couple hours ago. And this is a huge shift for Jupiter moving into Gemini. And this is going to be, so from today, which is filming on May 25th, and it'll be until early June of next year in June of 2025. So Jupiter really shows us the area of our life that we are going to begin focusing attention on growing more, expanding more. It can magnify things going on in that part of our life. So I'm curious today just to look into especially what new cycles of growth are just beginning for us. So we've got 4 piles today, and feel free to choose as many or few as you want here. Or like if you want to come back to this reading later on over the year, maybe some other kind of cycle is beginning, whatever you want to do, it's up to you. This is just for fun. So yeah, we've got the pile over here. I have these little dice. So we have number 6 with pile 1. With pile 2, we have the number 1 and this stack of cards. Pile 3, we have the number 3, this stack of cards. And for pile 4, we actually have 4 as well. So yeah, feel free to choose whatever is calling to you at this time, and I'll see you shortly. Bye. Hello, pile 1. Y'all chose the number 6 here. Dice, I'll set this over here for you. Actually, we'll set it right there. And this little bit of cards here. Today we're looking at the Jupiter has just moved into Gemini, so we're conversing with Jupiter a little bit to get some insight into what new, cycle of growth is beginning in your life, essentially. And these cards are meant to answer that, and then we're going to ask what gifts are coming from that, what blessings are coming through from Jupiter from that cycle of growth that's just beginning that we can expect over the next year, and then also what challenges to expect from that, which simultaneously are kind of also getting some guidance there. So yeah, let's just get started on this. So for what new cycle of growth is beginning, we have the snake and the bell showing up here. And this card, do you know how old we are? So I really immediately am just feeling there's obviously, like with the snake card, some kind of big initiation into a period of growth when it comes to you transforming in some significant way. This card, I really wanted to read part of what the book said about it because it's so beautiful and interesting. And I think it's like significant to share. Okay, so like part of this says, know that snakes shed their skin as often as 6 times per year, which is interesting because Jupiter's like a year-long cycle. So you could think of that perhaps what's going on in like 2-month increments over the year. It says, yeah, you're able to change your mind or change direction whenever you need to. Peel off any layers of illusion in your life. You know you're able to readjust anything. And the affirmation with it is just, I see things as they truly are, which is so powerful with this bell energy because that feels similarly in like things starting to ring true or getting closer to a truth perhaps. And I mean, if you think of this idea of like what it says in there of the snake shedding its skin so frequently, this might be like a really big time period of you just going through a lot of rapid change, because the bell is also signifying that as well, and also seems to be connecting to me like with higher forces of some kind, like with this jaguar energy, doing, whether that's doing some shadow work or getting assistance from guides or whatever it is. Like it definitely to me seems like a lot of growth happening in kind of your own underworld journeys that you're going on. And You know, with the do you know how old we are card coming out with this, this is my card of like when we're working with like different parts of ourselves and meet younger parts of us, and sometimes they don't actually understand how old we are. They think we're kind of still stuck in certain loops, or like it's a common thing when you're doing that kind of work to when you ask like, do you know how old blah 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 is, like you, right? Do you know how old I am? They may say something surprising like, I don't know, like 15, right? Like if it's like a 10-year-old part. And it can be really like mind expanding and shocking, but in a really good way for those parts to understand and to kind of catch up with you where you are. And this is making me feel like you might actually be kind of catching up with yourself with where you are in terms of like this really rapid expansive growth around your being ability to like shed old parts of you, right? And so I don't know, maybe Jupiter, I don't know where Jupiter's transiting in your chart. It might be coming into contact with your Pluto in some way. It might be coming into contact with your moon, or your sun. Curious, very curious. Really any planet. I'm sure we'll be going through some kind of transformation, or could be going through the 8th house. Let me know. I'd be curious to know if this is kind of feeling like you're sensing that coming. But let's look at the tarot and we'll just kind of ask what blessings can be expected from this. I'm trying to make these a little bit shorter today than I normally do because I can get really chatty. So, all right, here we go. We're gonna do Jupiter. What can pile 1 expect as gifts coming through this new cycle of growth? Gifts want to come through this new cycle of growth. Okay, we had 2 of Cups. Oh, and Strength. Okay. That's really beautiful. When the 2 of Cups flipped over, I actually heard like self-love. But you know, if you are resonating with like, this might be the fact that all of this transformation is finally getting you to a place where you feel closer to who you are, or to your kind of core essence of self. Like obviously that creates more openings within us for love, right? And for partnership in a way that feels more authentic to who we are. So it could very well mean that the blessings coming through this new cycle have to do with finding like a soulmate, finding a partner who truly complements you and that you resonate with. So that's really beautiful. And then we have Strength coming through with that as well. So it could even be strengthening a partnership that you already have. And perhaps like I'm even seeing the 2 of you both going through this process together and being kind of like hand in hand throughout that. And working on the relationship while working on yourself simultaneously, creating this like deepening within the relationship and really being able to support each other through these massive shifts, which is huge. It's really hard to do that in relationship when we're going through such big changes, and for the person that we're with to really be able to ride it out with us. It takes like a certain type of person and a certain level of growth and evolution for people to be able to do that in relationships. So this is really, really beautiful blessing coming through as part of this. And it just feels like a total up-leveling of your own confidence and your sense of certainty in who you are and your ability to like assert that and to feel comfortable in your own skin, to have a sense of clarity of your own trajectory in this life as well. I just got really emotional thinking about that. Like like being able to truly map out your life in a way that makes sense to you, where like the pieces are falling together. I sense it'll probably be after a lot of this has started, because it can be a lot to go through these shakeups where things are just like shedding so quickly, and you're kind of going through this like rapid growth. But I do get the sense that like, and maybe you have your like your partner is kind of like that witness, also able to help you to more clearly, like, yeah, help you understand your life trajectory in a way that you're telling your story in a very empowering way, in a way that like propels you into the future, which is really amazing. So, ooh, what a blessing. Okay, I'm gonna look at now any challenges to expect from this, and also at the same time, this is an oracle deck, so I figured it could be a good way to look at like perhaps what a challenge is, but also advice at the same time. So let's see, for pile 1, what might they expect as a challenge or way to work through a challenge in this? Watching pile 1. Challenge working through this. We have greatness and reciprocity. Let me just make sure. So in terms of challenge, you know, sometimes when Jupiter comes through, it can bring a bit of overinflation, and if this is like if this growth spurt is causing you just like rapid transformation and feeling just so like in your confidence and in yourself, there could be this way of like a challenge being remembering, yes, like I am great, like knowing your greatness, and yet like noticing how reciprocation is happening from you to others, how you're including other people in your growth journey in a way where they feel that reciprocation too, and you're not just kind of getting lost in your own process. It could also be a challenge that other people are just a little bit threatened by you stepping into this part of who you are, and maybe like I just heard demanding reciprocity or something. So I don't know, like maybe you're just gonna have to start renegotiating or re-understanding your place in the lives of the people around you, like what you actually feel is true reciprocity at this point, because you might turn around and start to notice like I'm not actually like getting anything from this relationship, right? Or I don't feel confident, or not confident, I don't feel it's even my how can I put this, like my truth or my desire to be in this specific relationship anymore, right? Because it's like I don't actually have the things to give you that you seem to want from me. I think just finding a lot of clarity around that, and it could be a challenge coming through with Jupiter, because Jupiter tends to, since it magnifies things, if you're already having like struggles in certain relationships, it might just kind of put a spotlight on that for you, especially as you're going through these big changes. And you might have to kind of like be stepping into this lion energy, right? And like bringing your rose, but being kind about it, right? Like the kindness versus niceness, like learning how to be kind by letting people know your limits, and if you really still want to be in connection with them or not, if it's really seeming to be working or not for both of you in the situation. So Yeah, I was looking to see if there's anything else that wants to come through. It's really amazing though that you have this Two of Cups coming out on the like the gift side. So along with strength, I think if anything, like yeah, you might have these challenges, but it could be bringing you closer to relationships that just feel more authentic and feel more completely reciprocated, right? So that's really wonderful. It seems like a very generative cycle, and I urge you to continue to breathe as much as possible. And you know, Jupiter is the mountaintop view. So if you're feeling like so focused in on whatever's happening, definitely try to just take a step back, right? Like, see the bigger picture of your life. Look to the people in your life, look to this Two of Cups relationship, right, to help you have that wider perspective. I think that might help in the times when you're just kind of like in the thick of the transformation, to get kind of back into that feeling of the gifts that want to come through this time, right? And tap back into that. And Jupiter is all about that generosity. It's all about feeling into the ways that we are grateful for this life. And sometimes that can be hard when we are in going through these difficult cycles, right? And having to let go of a lot. But if we can step back and really see kind of the wider view of why this is happening and hold that really deep sense of gratitude, like that's when more and more Jupiter wants to kind of bring in the just bring in more of the gifts, or help that run more smoothly through your life. And with this being, you know, this cycle's happening in Gemini, it clearly seems to be affecting relationships for you. So communication and relating, with the reciprocity card coming out too, and kind of just like you understanding more about who you are in relationship to others through your communication styles, and how that meshes well or maybe not so well with other people. So that could be something else to look out for as well. Yeah, be careful. Like, words are spells, okay? So I say that lovingly, and when you're doing this work with yourself, that can be something super powerful, getting into, of just like, what words do I want to be saying, like speaking into my life right now? I think with Jupiter and Gemini, that has a lot of power behind it. So whatever you're letting go of, being really clear about the words you're speaking around that, and whatever you're kind of moving towards, be clear about that as well. Okay, that's what I got for y'all. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, and I hope that this was fruitful. I'm excited for y'all to have this beautiful experience, for all of us collectively, to go through this transit of Jupiter in Gemini. And yeah, many blessings to you. I hope I see you at another reading. Thanks, y'all. Bye. Hi, pile 2. Y'all chose the number 1 on the die here. I'll put it over here. And this deck of cards. So today we are conversing with Jupiter, who just moved into the sign of Gemini literally like an hour ago, a couple hours ago, and trying to ask the question of what new cycles of growth are starting for you. And yeah, so this little pile is answering that question, and then we'll get into tarot to look at what are the gifts coming through that new cycle that's beginning of growth, and then what are challenges, or a little bit of advice at the same time, as well, around the new cycle's beginning. So let's get into it. So yeah, what new cycle of growth is beginning for you, pile 2? So we have the Death card coming out here, along with Ancestral Web. So wow, it feels for sure like a new cycle beginning around work with ancestors, more deep internal work, perhaps finding a teacher or a mentor who is well versed in working with lineages and supporting people through delving into ancestry. It seems like there could be a big cycle of growth here in terms of coming into a way that you can more clearly bridge your history, like your ancestral lines and lineage, into who you are presently, and how that wants to show up more fully in your life. So maybe this is a fourth house transit for you. I'd be curious to know what house Jupiter is moving into. If that's actually true, this could be pretty relevant for you. Or any planet, really, if Jupiter's, making any significant transit, any planets in your chart, that might kind of open up a little bit more about what this could be about. But yeah, this death card in this deck always reminds me of the Hanged Man. So there could be kind of this need through this time of this next year that Jupiter is really offering you a moment to have a brand new way of looking at something when it comes to your family, like blood ties, or opening up doorways even into new ways of recognizing that story or getting new insights into that story. Really just feels like you're going to be, I just heard walking backwards, which is funny, but in a way where it's like so that you can walk forwards. And like that's the growth. It's kind of, I'm just seeing that image of like when people pull back a rubber band, and like then when you let it go, it like snaps forward so quickly. So like the work of growth is like the pulling back part of that, and then when we release it, it's like it's going to be such a quick integration or moving forward into who we are, because the growth is actually the pulling back in this particular instance. So it may also be a time of growth, like if you do connect with ancestors in certain ways where like you're being given new information around that. Gemini is the sign of communication, and Mercury as the ruler of Gemini is a psychopomp, which is like one who can move between the underworld and the god realms. Like it's this ability to seamlessly travel between these realms. So it seems like with Jupiter moving into this sign for you in particular, it could be a really like a strengthening of that if you already have that gift, or perhaps that's like a new gift coming through for you that you're unaware of as of yet. And just seeing a lot of growth and expansion, or like Jupiter magnifies things as well. So like if it's something that you already do, it's just kind of getting bigger at this time. Yeah, let's look at we have some tarot here to get into around what the gifts are wanting to come through in this. So we'll look at that first. So collective watching pile 2. What gifts can they expect from this new cycle beginning? Okay, I really, with this coming through as gifts, we have the Mother of Swords, the Queen of Swords, along with the Five of Pentacles and the Six of Swords. I feel like a big gift that wants to come through this new growth cycle that Jupiter is bringing really has to do with moving away from ancestral like lineage patterns around scarcity. I don't even think it's just in the material. It could be other ways. I think it's just patterns in general that have to do with whether you inherited that from a parent, a caregiver, or that you just understand is part of your blood lineage here that you've been working through. I think that this particular cycle is going to bring a lot of healing around that, and an ability, like I said, it's that like that pulling back and the like snap forward. Like you're just kind of gonna be like, okay, I know, like I've worked through that, and you're doing it not just for you, it's for your entire line. And this Mother of Swords, it to me feels like someone in your line, maybe an air sign, if you have like with an air sign, an air sun, or like strong air placements in their chart, anyone in your any particular ancestor that might come to mind around that, maybe someone who is more of like on the feminine side, whatever, use gender as if it resonates. So like I'm just seeing like that person, it could be tied to that person, or that particular ancestor is really supporting you through this time to cut away, to cut through whatever that pattern has been that you've been carrying for the line, and that is like kind of yours, that you really wanted to work through in this incarnation and support your whole lineage with. So it feels like this cycle, this year, is the time for that work to just be blessed too. I mean, Jupiter likes to come in and really support and offer the abundance, the optimism, just the faith as well, the faith in life. One of the things with Jupiter is like a renewed faith in yourself and in wanting to live in this life. And I think when we're doing the really intense work, there does come a point when we finally reach that place of like, oh, okay, like I do have faith in life again, you know, like I'm not feeling so exhausted by all of this work that I feel I came here to do, you know, like all of this darkness I came to transmute, whatever it is. It feels like this, I just heard like last cycle, but I mean, take that as it will, but it just feels like a very, a large weight, a large part of whatever your karmic stuff was going on with family is really being finally kind of like released and just able to move forward in this way that's healing you and everyone else at the same time. That's really beautiful. I'm just seeing like light like moving down through the line as you're doing this work, and supporting that illumination for anyone who's been stuck in the dark with whatever patterns these were. Yeah, it's deep. It's deep work. I'm also just like seeing the image of like a spider web like with dewdrops all over it, and it's like being illuminated, right? I love that. You know, and this being in Gemini, Jupiter in Gemini as well, I wonder if you're going to start like having clearer messages come through from ancestors, or perhaps like through some investigative work, like being able to find literal things like written from them, or even finding other people maybe who are connected to your family that you didn't know about, who can offer you stories or something about them that's going to help break this through even further. Yeah, that's just another potential coming through. but definite, like, I'm just being drawn to the rainbow here, like a lot of blessings coming through for your ancestral line, and that's really beautiful. So let's look at the potential challenges here, or some guidance perhaps to work through any challenges. I'm trying to keep these a little bit shorter today since I have 4 piles, and I usually go on and on, so we're just doing it a little more speedy today. So for pile 2, what challenges might they come across in this growth cycle? We'll just keep these 2. Oh, there were 3. Okay, so we had rebirth come out, we have friction, and teachers. That's an interesting combination. Let's see. Well, I guess I could put them over here. I'll leave this one over here. So this is interesting that I think this friction card was like in between the other 2. And to me, I'm getting this sense of like, you can't have rebirth unless you accept everything as your teacher, right? No matter the friction that comes from it. And this card speaks to the idea of like a stone isn't polished until it's tumbled, right? Things kind of needing to be sculpted, like a sculpture appearing after it's being chipped away at. This need for friction in life, and the teacher's card bringing up the fact that, like, you know, our patterns are our teachers, the people in our life who really test us and, you know, bring out the difficult feelings or patterns that we carry. These people are our teachers, essentially. They're the ones who help us move through this stuff. And so I think, yes, this is a challenge, obviously, because it's not comfortable to go through that. And at the same time, it's sort of like the medicine is in the poison. That's what I was trying to say. Where it's like, I don't want this to be going on, or I don't want to be experiencing this right now, but how can I turn that around to understand, like, how is this working for me? And especially working for me in terms of like these patterns that I am attempting to break free of and move beyond, not just for myself, but like for my entire bloodline, and even cosmic, beyond just bloodline. I'm just feeling like it could even be bigger than that. People who are even tied to your family but not of your family. This could be instances of like doing acts in your life to repair things that your ancestors did, perhaps, that are not something that you feel aligned with, in terms of integrity of being a human on this planet. That is like really valuable and deep work of repairing ancestral lines, is just showing up and doing better, right, than our ancestors did or could with what they had. So I sense that there's like, I mean, and to me, I'm almost like, I wonder if that's a place of friction too, a place of like where the rub is, where it's uncomfortable to have this relationship to certain ancestors because of the things that they did in their life that you feel, you know, were abhorrent, or that you wouldn't have done, or that you just find difficult to find forgiveness for them for. And ultimately this is saying like, to ask yourself, how can that be a teacher to me in terms of how I want to live my life and how I am, you know, rebirthing myself and everyone who I'm connected with into a frequency that is no longer one that aligns with that kind of destruction or whatever it is, hatred or like, I don't know, deep fear or control, power, whatever was coming through that line. Like, how can, you know, that ancestor be my teacher in the way of showing me perhaps the how I don't necessarily want to be in the world, right? So that I can rebirth this experience for all of us and even support their soul, which probably is in need of healing as well, and in need of this sculpting, right? In need of polishing and refinement. Yeah, and don't forget to feed your ancestors is what I'm hearing. Like, whatever that means to you, whether you leave, you know, you give offerings of some kind, or even just small things, you know, it doesn't have to be a lot. I just am feeling that because Jupiter is the planet of generosity, right? And like, Jupiter loves to share the wealth and abundance of whatever's going on. So if you're having a particularly beautiful day, or like something in this pattern, you feel it really shifting, don't forget to just be like, hey, you know, like, share that moment with ancestors. Like, you could call them in and say, look, I just want you to appreciate with me for a second what's going on, right? And like, I thank you for your struggles and for your challenges and the ways that you rose to those challenges, because that's how I am here, right? And I thank you for the gifts that you left for me so that I could keep going for all of us. Yeah, and support the collective in general. This card, the teacher's card, is really making me think Gemini with these like kind of two figures here. Antelope? Are these antelopes? And I wonder if you might actually find, like I think I mentioned at the beginning, finding a teacher who could really support in this kind of work. And yeah, that really makes me feel that Gemini energy coming through in that card. So maybe that is something that could support you, or especially in coming to terms, like someone who's really good at working with not so savory ancestors and, you know, helping do the healing work around that as well. So that might be something to look into. But yeah, I think that's what I'm getting. I'm going to stop that there. This is really interesting, pile 2. Let me know if this resonated. I'd be curious, and especially to know where Jupiter is in your chart, if you know that, like what house it's going to be in during this time of Jupiter in Gemini. And yeah, I send a lot of blessings through this cycle, and I thank you, Jupiter, for coming through for all of us today, and hopefully I'll see y'all in another reading. Thanks, y'all. Bye. Hey, pile 3. Y'all chose this card here, these 2 cards, and the number 3. I'll set that over there. So today we are looking at what new cycle of growth is beginning for you, as Jupiter has just moved in to the sign of Gemini, literally hours before I started filming, which is very exciting. And yeah, we're gonna look at that. What new cycle of growth is beginning? That's these 2 cards are answering that, and then we've got some tarot to get into for what the gifts are coming through this growth cycle, and then what potential challenges and kind of advice around that we can get. So let's get into it. All right, what new cycle of growth is beginning for the folks who selected this pile? Number 3. Oh, and we have 3 again. Wow, okay. 333 could be a significant number. You know, if that resonates. Yeah, because that's cool. It came through 3 times. Okay, and then we have paradigm shift. Yes. Which this is making me think the Jupiter-Uranus situation, which was totally paradigm shift energy. So it might be that Jupiter and Uranus made their conjunction, which happened really recently in May, early May, right? Or I think it was in April that it made the exact conjunction. But that could have happened like really strongly in your chart, whether that's connected to any of your personal planets like the sun, the moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, or Jupiter as well. I mean, really any of the planets. If that happened around any planets in your chart, that could be, or points, angles as well. I would say that is energy that you are carrying with you, not just for this Jupiter cycle, but for like the next, I think it's 14 years. Yeah, Jupiter-Uranus cycles are 14 years, so that could have essentially initiated you into a really significant paradigm shift in your life. Yeah, that's amazing. So this Lantern card, right? When we're thinking about a growth cycle, obviously this is making me think of the Hermit card, because of the holding the lantern, being your own light. This really feels like a period, this year of growth in terms of you being able to be your own light bearer, like you fully stepping into and recognizing your own self as the guide, right? Or being able to recognize who is guiding you. Trustworthy guidance, right? It feels very much like illuminating your own path forward. And while you might not know exactly where you're headed, there's like a deep sense of trust. Jupiter is so beautiful in that it's like really representative of our faith in life, and the area of life that we just continue to have this like relentless belief in and faith in, right? Like, and I think in this time, like you're coming to believe yourself. You're like believing in yourself so much more. And maybe that was the big paradigm shift that's coming through. It's like, you don't have to be one way, or you don't have to like follow one certain path in order to believe in who you are and to have really strong moral compass and to know that whatever direction you're heading in is going to be the right one, because you have like such a strong sense of what to you is like right or wrong. It's coming through that Jupiter, the way it can be tied to morality, and the way it can be tied to our kind of higher values in life, the things that really guide us and support us making difficult decisions in our lives. So yeah, I feel like this growth cycle is tied to whatever revelation came through, like this paradigm shift happening, and maybe it's continuing to happen over this year, but a true like coming into your own light through being able to move more in the material from a place of being connected to your values. And that's a really powerful way to move in the world, because it doesn't really matter where you go at that point. If you're actually walking in faith in that way, that's attached to your own integrity, and your own rooted beliefs, and that are supportive, of course, and not dampening your light, but actually allowing it to illuminate more in your consciousness, so you're bringing more to conscious light, essentially, or you're bringing your own, sorry, like not saying this properly, like you're bringing your light, which is consciousness, to your own shadows. Like it's not about having beliefs that are actually like in shadow and you haven't fully examined. It's kind of the opposite of that, right? Like you're bringing that light into these places, and working through with beliefs that really can support that illumination. That's what I was trying to say. And this could really be coming through, like, I'm even just seeing like you being a speaker or coming into your voice as well. With it being in Gemini, which is ruled by Mercury. That there could be a way that you going through this process and you finding that is really also connected to your own voice, whether that's speaking in public more or just speaking up more in your everyday connections with people in a way that you haven't in the past. It definitely feels like there's opportunity there. It's kind of funny, I'm seeing all of this stuff on this card, which seems a little bit like underwater situation, but like as kind of a community, right? And threes always sort of remind me of that community feeling and that like cooperation and collaboration with others. So this could also be a way that you're bringing a lot of growth in areas of your surrounding community. Where you're supporting other people too. Jupiter like really wants to share, so this could be like sharing of the information you're learning as well. And yeah, not just keeping all that light to yourself. It's like it's like overflowing out into all of those around you. And there's no way to hold it back anymore, which is actually a positive thing, right? So let's look into the tarot a little bit with what are the blessings or the gifts that want to come through from this new cycle of growth. So for my pile threes, what are the gifts that are coming through this cycle for them? Wow, okay, you got the Sun and the Ace of Pentacles. Come on. Okay. That is major gifts happening. I feel like this cycle, Jupiter moving through Gemini is just like, it's returning you to your light, to your confidence, to your inner sense of vibrancy and life force, in this way where it is like a renewed sense of faith in yourself and in your own ability to stand in the world and in your truth without being afraid of that or feeling like it's wrong or too much. And with the Ace of Pentacles, it's like, because of that, it's like the world is just opening up to you in the material. And that's incredible to see. And I love this. It's like, it looks almost like the sun or a star like in the center of this seed, like bursting forward, like how similar these are. So it's just that recognition. And I'm hearing magnification again, right? Because that's Jupiter. Jupiter like puts the magnifying glass on whatever it is that it's in contact with, and it's like, here's the seed, right? Like there's my magnifying glass on the seed, and it's like the entire sun existing within this seed. It's the full potential that is just there for you in this moment because you are stepping into your own light in this way that you really probably haven't before. And that's so beautiful. I love that. And I'm thinking like, I love thinking of seeds with Gemini too, as, you know, the seed holding all of the information, and Gemini being so much about gathering and disseminating information. And so it's almost like you're gonna be like the bringer of all of this. Like you're just like shedding your seeds everywhere around the collective, to bring in this sense of hope. Like Jupiter can bring hope too. It feels like you're just gonna be this sort of like powerful force, bringing people back into their sense of true dignity and remembering who they are on this level of like soul remembrance or something, where they can step back into their own inner light and yeah, and like see their full potential again. It's almost like you're able at this time, because of what you've gone through or what you're going through, to, no matter what someone looks like on the outside, you're able to just like see that potential inside of them and speak to them in that way, which is it's such a gift. For people to be able to do that is incredible, because I think a lot of times people need to be reminded who they are in that like divine way, right? Because we forget and we get so caught up in the material and just trying to make it through and forgetting who we really are. And I think that you in this time, like part of the gift is you being this like benevolent being yourself. It's almost like you're embodying Jupiter at this time, like, and pulling that, drawing that out of others, which when we do that, I mean, that just continues to bring that level of generosity back towards us, right? It's a total like mutual benefit situation going on with that. Awesome. Okay, we're gonna look at challenges perhaps that could come through this, and maybe advice as well. A little bit of both. So for the collective watching pile 3, potential challenges might they experience in this cycle. So this is interesting. You have the Harmony card coming out and Maktab. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it. So this is actually an Arabic word that means it is written, which is fascinating. Also, we see the glyph for Mercury there. And yeah, with this being in Gemini season. So it's essentially talking about this idea of destiny, right? And how do we kind of flow with life if we have this knowing that like things are predetermined, essentially. And I find this powerful that it's coming out with the Harmony card, because that to me is like, this is us like moving into the flow of what has kind of already been laid out for us, in a way that we're causing harmony with whatever we would consider fate. I look at, it's interesting, like in this guidebook it used the word destiny more in a way that I would use the word fate. I kind of think of some destiny as something we kind of participate with, versus fate just being like thrust upon us. So I don't know, whatever, however you want to look at it, it's fine. But I'm just thinking, with all of this like beautiful illuminated energy that you're bringing, it may also like, I'm just trying to think of how this is challenging exactly. Like, it could feel overwhelming, honestly, to have a sense of you're like flowing with what you would consider your destined path, and it's actually coming out in a way that feels really harmonious, or that's easy for you to flow into in a way that's never happened in your life before. And so honestly, that could cause some tension for you, or like a feeling of when is the shoe gonna drop, you know, like how are things actually moving in such a beautiful way. um so that's definitely something that could be possible. I think with that, it is important too, this might just be a reminder of like, we are all like, nothing is ever going to be completely 1,000% great all the time, and we learn how to like ride the currents of life, right? So it's really important that through this big growth period, that you learn, even in the moments when you're feeling like allowing the really good and more positive experiences to flow through you, but to be kind of unattached at the same time, and learn how to then, when you're in like a moment of like the tide going out, right? It's like the tide's going in and out, of not feeling this way. Because what happens is then we get this attachment of like, oh, that goodness or whatever it is going away, so that must be saying something about I'm doing something wrong, when that's really not the case. And it's just our need to understand that life moves in these kind of ebbs and flows. So yeah, there could be something around that kind of idea for you that might pose a bit of a challenge, both in learning to completely receive all of this beautiful gifts that are like coming through at this time for you, and to not hold on so tightly that you forget that whatever's coming through isn't necessarily like place isn't like a display of your value as a person or as a soul. Like, this is literally just like a time in your life where these things are coming into your world in a way that's really beautiful. And like, sometimes it might not be that way, or like experiences you've had in the past where it was more difficult, that doesn't mean that you were doing something wrong, right? Like, it's the seasons of our life. And it's just thinking about the Gemini piece again. Yeah, maybe coming up with certain words or phrases that you can work with around that, if that's helpful to you. I know a simple one of just like think everything is working in my favor, little things like that. Whatever works for you. I have mixed feelings about affirmations, but I'm just trying to think of more Gemini things, which using words as a powerful way to work with what you feel is your destiny, might be supportive, essentially. And really appreciating and noticing harmony when it comes through, especially with other people in your life, and not taking it for granted, you know? Sometimes where Jupiter is in our chart, or when we go through really powerful and beautiful Jupiter transits, we can kind of just take it for granted and not allow it to fully bring through the blessings. And like, I'm thinking of, you know, when we have a really beautiful conversation with someone, or we are just like, yeah, we are having these interactions where it's just illuminating all of this stuff going on for both of us, and we're in flow, and it feels really powerful, and whatever it is, you know, like, it's juicy, it feels good. Don't take that for granted, you know? Don't take that person or that situation as if it's just another day, because it's not. Like, what's happening right now for you is clearly something that your soul came here to experience at this point of your growth and your journey, and it is for you. These experiences are for you, and for you to really sink into and to flow with, and to really, really deeply appreciate, and to be appreciative. Because it just continues to expand the energy when you're in a place of not just receptivity to what's going on, but like almost like humbled gratitude at the same time. And that's like, that feels a part of the Jupiterian experience. It's both. It's like learning how to be in that fully receptive state, and also how to bestow that depth of gratitude with your like heart opening and pouring out towards all of those who are part of this experience with you. So yeah, that's really great. Pile 3, I'm excited for you. I'm sending a lot of blessings through this Jupiter moving through Gemini time, and I hope it's amazing. I hope this resonated, and thank you to Jupiter for coming through today. And yeah, hopefully I'll see y'all in another reading. Much love. Bye. Pile 4, hello. This is the first time I've ever had a pile 4. It's very exciting. And you got the number 4 on the dice, so that's cool. The number 4 could be significant for some of you. So today we're looking at what new cycles of growth are beginning, because Jupiter has just moved into the sign of Gemini, which really signals a kind of a fresh start to something in our life in terms of where we're growing. And yeah, so with that, these 2 cards are looking at that specifically. So what new cycle of growth is beginning, and then we're going to draw some tarot to ask what gifts are coming from that growth, and also what potential challenges might show up. So let's get into it. So for what new cycle of growth is beginning for pile 4, we have honey, card number 11, and consent showing up. This is cool. I'm like, this feels like Venus-Saturn energy to me, so maybe Jupiter is making some sort of contact to either one of those planets in your chart. Because this card is like, I'm getting that whole vibe of bees, you know, having a stinger and like getting the honey. You have to be careful of how you go about that, like, and this idea of consent, right, and boundaries. And so I'm thinking of that Saturnian aspect, and when Venus and Saturn come together, how beautiful it can be, because Saturn, well, when we work through the energy, right, and Saturn isn't just the like cutting us off from love altogether, but actually creating the really significant and necessary boundaries in order to blossom within that, in order for love to completely blossom within it. So in terms of the cycle of growth happening, it feels related to the heart. It feels related to love, to feeling a sense of radiance in yourself, a confidence where you can enter into relationship with others in this way where like you're glowing and you know your own value. I like so reject saying things like that. My personal belief is, I'll share this. So many years ago now, I had a very significant conversation with a future version of myself who told me that there is no such thing as being worthy or unworthy. There is only the truth of belonging. And ever since then, that like completely shifted my own perception of value and worth in terms of like being a human, which I already was like kind of suspect about, but I'd never put it in that particular framework before. So maybe I'm sharing that because some of you need to hear that. But yeah, it isn't about being worthy. It's literally just understanding yourself as belonging to this cosmos as in your full radiance, right? And yeah, like such powerful opportunity for growth here, where you're able to have the appropriate barriers, or like really our boundaries are literally just telling people who we are and what we need, right? They're not meant to be walls. So this could just be you getting more clear on what that looks like for you and finding people who respect that and are able to have really in-depth, meaningful conversations around it and supporting you. Because sometimes too, we can have boundaries that then when we get into a relationship over time, those can shift and change, right? As more trust is built. Like this feels connected to trust too in a big way. So I think it could be an opportunity of growth where you're working with other people who you can deeply trust with your boundaries. Because sometimes that's not the case, right? And we might just end up in situations where it seems like people just assume you're pushing them away because they don't even understand how to interact with the boundaries you have. There's just not enough growth there. So it seems like the opportunity is coming forth in terms of growing your circle of people who are able to build more trust with you so you can like truly be in this place of experiencing the sweetness of life, of fully shining in your own brilliance, experiencing pleasure and just good things, like the Jupiterian beautiful things. And I love that. I love this lavender on here too. It makes me feel like there's some, it's not like overdoing it or something. There's some sort of like relaxedness to it. Yeah, and like a release into experiences where you have had those conversations. Like Gemini energy, with Jupiter moving into Gemini, is so much about communication, right? And if Jupiter's coming in and putting a spotlight in this area of our life, it could mean just being able to have really good conversations with people that you have struggled to in the past, whether it's around like sexuality and your preferences or what have you, coming to this place where like you're unafraid of that, and it's allowing a lot more pleasurable experiences to happen, because there's kind of just this fearlessness built up through the trust that you have with whoever you're working with. I'm just thinking of Esther Perel as well. So I don't know if any of you have heard of her or read her books, but she has some always really great insights around relationships and like the erotic and all of that. So if you're curious, I would definitely suggest investigating her. That's Esther Perel. Okay, so let's look at the tarot. So we're going to look into what gifts are coming through from this new growth cycle. So what are the gifts that pile 4 can expect? Oh my god. Okay, again, okay, 4, 4, 4, pile 4. 4, 4, 4, 4. Could be important to all of y'all. And what the heck? Okay, the Emperor's on the freaking back. Okay. Lots of 4s. This is my group of 4s. I love this. Okay. Oh my goodness. This is so powerful and beautiful, y'all. Like, okay, you've got, I just feel this coming into your body as your home, of this place of like deep rooted connection with other people that is truly nourishing and so stable, and like a form of stability that you have maybe been searching for quite a while, as the gifts coming through in this time with Jupiter moving through Gemini. And you know, sometimes the Four of Pentacles can be holding on too tight, but I'm actually getting this sense of like the way that these are strung together, it's making me feel like responsibility, and the responsibility that we hold to other people, and how that protects us, and how that creates this kind of like web of interconnection. That is so, it's like a stable and secure foundation that is really being created for you at this time. And like with it to come out with the Four of Wands, which is also so much about that, like that beautiful home, being in like a family that feels like spiritual connection too through this card, like a deeply, being deeply seen and having that like intimate home space. I love like how this card is kind of creating that portal as well. Like it just feels like these connections, whatever they are supporting you being more and more connected to spirit, being more and more comfortable in your own spiritual growth as well. Like whatever these connections are that you're having, these like more pleasurable experiences, because you're accessing a greater levels of trust and security. They're really helping you to tap in even further with your own, like through your heart too. I feel like this is like heart portal energy. And with the Emperor, it's just like sometimes the Emperor can be also kind of overly controlling, but I feel because this is like the blessings and like the gifts coming through, it actually seems like maybe you've really needed either for yourself to feel that sense of control, or for like other people to hold that control in relationship for you, where they feel really stable, because maybe people have just kind of been like not in that way, and just really whether there was betrayal or just like the trust wasn't built up enough, or it wasn't safe enough. It feels like safety is going to be so prevalent in whatever connection you have, but in this way where it's elevated and it's not distorted through what some of these cards can sometimes bring through, which is just kind of like overly controlling, or holding on to things so tightly that we're not in a reciprocated situation. So that's incredible. And I think what is ultimately happening here as well, it's not just other people showing up for you in this kind of Emperor energy, but you then being able to embody that more and more for yourself, like stepping into your own sense of being able to be in your power in the world, and be your own inner authority and external authority, and how you're acting and what you're presenting. It's like I see you and whoever you're with, it's like you're building together, and you're really working, like each of you is kind of balancing each other in whatever like you're really strong with, maybe that other person needs like support with, whereas like you need support in this other thing, and it feels like this perfect balancing that's happening between you and whoever this person or these people are who you're experiencing a lot of this sweetness with. So I really love that coming through. Let's ask what challenges might be expected as well, or ways that we can kind of face any challenges for the collective watching pile 4 during this transit of Jupiter through Gemini. have perception and this deja vu card coming out. So this is really interesting to see in terms of challenges. This idea of perception and deja vu, which this is obviously making me think Gemini with the twins here. I love that. Weirdly though, it's feeling more like deja vu, like, or less like deja vu and more like flashback or like triggering things from that coming up with this perception card. So like in terms of a challenge, it could be this like these moments where whatever's going on in this relational way, like it seems like so much growth happening in that part of your world, that there could be moments where you're kind of triggered back into old ways of how you were interacting with people who didn't have your best interest at heart, right? Or like who you didn't have that built up trust with. So it might take you really dipping into your own way that you're perceiving things and to remember where you are now and who this person is to you, or these people, whatever it is, like to remember your own safety and security within that. It could also mean like there may be instances of this kind of feeling of deja vu happening, and that I don't know, I'm just trying to think of how this is more challenging. It might just feel like it is a bit of your responsibility then to make sure that you're paying attention when that happens, to what messages are behind the reason why you're experiencing that. So just like noticing what you were thinking about right before it happened, or what was going on around you, things like that, just as a way to make sure you're like continuing to stay tapped in with your own kind of intuition there. And I just think, yeah, again, with the perception, you know, Gemini is ruled by Mercury, and Mercury as a planet is wherever it is in our chart. It might actually be really significant for you to, in particular, look at where your Mercury is, because it seems like you're going to be doing a lot of heavy lifting in terms of Mercury related things, because this is like how we interact in all of our relationships, right? How we communicate, and maybe looking at where that placement is for you, like what kind of where your ease and comfortability is around communicating, what sign it's in, what aspects Mercury is making in your chart. Because Mercury is it's not just communication, it's like how we take in information, how we actually make meaning of that information. So it can tell us a lot. I'm even thinking like how we interpret and take in these kind of moments of synchronicity or intuition or deja vu, where it might seem like if this is something new to you, it might actually feel kind of scary or just unknown and you don't really know what to do with it. So I definitely would encourage you to just check out and do a little bit of investigating in your own astrological birth chart around your Mercury placement, because also Mercury then, as the ruler of Gemini, is going to be ruling over that house that Jupiter's moving through during this whole year. So it's just a pretty significant thing to look at. And yeah, because I think it'll help you maybe unravel more around any blocks that you've had to your own way of perceiving other people's communication styles, or what you like. I'm even thinking of just like, what does the word trust even mean to you versus like the other people in your life, because it means something different, right, to each person. So there could be just challenges here where you have to be present and be aware of like how your own specific language and your own perception of that is kind of coming into play in relationships, and just making sure to stay open with that. And maybe allow yourself to be like guided by the signs, right? Maybe you have a really deep conversation and it feels like deja vu. Like, pay attention to that, because that could be a key to remind you to tap back into, how am I perceiving this? Like, am I keeping that open mind? You know, Gemini as a sign as well is one that is so good at holding paradox and holding a variety of opinions without, you know, needing to be in such black and white thinking. So doing as much as you can to kind of like be in that more flow of like information coming through, while understanding what your boundaries are, right? And really, it seems the most important thing is just the trust that you have been building with whoever these folks are. And like, I know I talked a lot about like relationship and stuff, but this can be, of course, like any type of relationship. It doesn't just have to be romantic or anything like that. But it does very much seem connected to other people and creating just more interconnectedness in a way where everyone feels more safe and more seen and more able to be happy and like experiencing good things, you know, where it's not just kind of like everyone is just helping each other make it to the next thing, but like everyone's kind of uplifting each other into their highest growth potential. That's what it really feels like. I mean, this emperor is just like the beautiful giant tree, right? It's like people in your life showing up want to see you in that kind of energy, right? Like being the boss. And being that beautiful, full tree in the forest that people love to sit under and like leave offerings to, because they know it holds so much power. Yeah. I think that's everything I've got for y'all. I hope that this was resonant or helpful. This seems like a really beautiful time coming for you. I'm excited. Yeah, so thanks for hanging out with me. Thank you to Jupiter for showing up today. We're all very excited for this cycle of, Jupiter, your time through Gemini. So thank you for offering your insights, and hopefully I'll see y'all in another reading. Much love. Bye.